Howdy, everyone. Tad Stevens on the Micro Success Secrets podcast, where we focus on business, psychology, and marketing, and how you can use that in your business daily and long term. Today, I'm talking with Dr. Pam Denton, who is the founder of Supercore Fit Coaching and Leadership. Pam is a fitness expert, healer, motivational speaker, and author of the book Core Intelligence, Driving the New Era of Leadership. Pam, welcome to the show, and let me know anything I missed.
All right. Thanks, Tad. So awesome to be here. You really didn't miss anything. I have a very long history in healing and fitness. Over 25 years of business. I started my business. I guess the only thing that I want to add that's so interesting is I started way before the internet, social media. I didn't even have a website. So new chiropractor in a small town, new mom, opening up my business. It was really challenging. So the questions that are part of this series are powerful because I had to go through a lot of transitions to get to where I am today.
Okay, well, super. Well, then let's get into it.
Yeah.
And I always start with this one. And as you kind of alluded to, I think it could be interesting. If you could get in a time machine and go back in time and you could change one business or life decision, first off, would you change it? And if you would change it, what would you change it to?
It's such an interesting question because I love that you added, would you change it? Because I sat with that as I was reading through the questions. I've done so much soul work on mistakes that I've made in business. And I always, when I make a mistake or I have a massive failure, and I have had massive failures, I always sit with it and I'm like, okay, what was the lesson and how can I grow and strengthen for that? And then I leave it in the past and I take the formula forward. So I'm really into evolution. I feel like businesses have to evolve, especially right now. The logo behind me is my new logo from the pandemic, Supercore. So I had to evolve during the pandemic. But I think the one answer that I have to that is I wouldn't have tried to force things to happen. There were many times when I pushed, when I should have just waited and followed my gut.
Okay. So kind of related to that, if you could look back and you could find something that turned out just super positive. I mean, you look back, it's one of those kind of things where you could say, you could look at everything that happened before that decision and everything that happened after it. Do you have one of those?
Yeah, the biggest one was when I had to close down my brick and mortar wellness center. I'd built a franchise concept. It was a huge endeavor for me because I had 2 young children and there was a lot of stress. And then the economy crashed in 2009. That was our first real crash in my generation. And so I had to make the choice to leave this brick and mortar. So that was like the failure point. And move on and take care of my family. What came out of that, it was right at the pivot into like Facebook. We had MySpace. I wasn't on it, but we pivoted into Facebook. Right. I started to study online like this, what we're doing right here. I dove into it, let go of the brick and mortar and decided to be an online person. And that was the most positive thing that I've ever done. I just put myself out there, lives, video, whatever I could do to become confident on this type of screen.
Okay. And this this could relate to that. And it could even be the same answer. What was the decision that you think was the scariest? And I'll add on to that later, but what do you think just looked at and thought, oh no?
How do you, when you're a hands-on healer, which I was, how do you monetize? This was the question I was asking myself. How do I monetize when I don't have contact with people? It was a different form of flow for me. Mine was started with people came into the office. I touched their spine. They felt better. They paid me. And that's how it grew. They would tell people, they would tell their doctors. It was a referral system. So when you're here, the scariest part is, how am I going to make money? How am I going to monetize this virtual world? Will I get paid? Will people be attracted to me, especially when you're a kinesthetic touch person? And that was really scary. Like there were times that crickets were chirping and I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I've got to bring in money for my family.
Right. So kind of along those lines is how did you work through that decision? And do you have anything that you could share with listeners and viewers on how they could maybe apply those method techniques, whatever, to get through those decisions? Because as entrepreneurs, we're always making decisions, and every now and then we come up with some big ones, but we still have to get through it if we're going to get to the other side. So do you have anything that you could share on that, how you did that?
Yeah, we see it all the time in social media right now. I think people hide behind the veneer of social media, like voiceovers and
Oh yeah.
TikTok, and you put up some personification that's not yours to be funny, and maybe that is your true authentic self. Like, there are comedians that use that. That's great, but for
Right.
me, again, a touch person where I need to touch people's lives, I had to learn to be 100% authentically me, and it takes practice. There are videos on my Dr. Pam Denton page on Facebook that I'm like, oh my gosh.
You too, huh?
That's me.
Oh yeah, I've got a few of those.
That was a practice run. But I leave them up because they're still me, and there's probably some information in there that people may need. If it's really horrible and I'm having an awful day, I'll take it down. But what I want to say to your audience is practice, practice, practice. Don't ever give up, and work on yourself. Learn to become as authentic as you possibly can be, and then translate. If you're in this virtual world, which most of us are now because of the pandemic,
Right.
learn to translate that.
Yeah.
Through the
And and you said something there, practice, practice, practice. I haven't had anyone say that. I've done quite a few of these. And it reminded me of when I first got online and was doing videos. And like you, I have some that I'm just, oh, don't look at that, please don't. But one of the things that really helped me, and I never thought about this until you said that, so that's why I think it's so cool, is that I would get onto Zooms by myself and just record myself and just talk and just be me. And I realized that the biggest thing I could do to make myself look like I wanted to look was just relax. But I couldn't do that with the camera on, or I didn't know how in the beginning.
Totally.
And so I just, like you said, practice, practice, practice. It doesn't have to be anybody else on the other side, but I had to do that to get that feel, to relax, basically. So that's awesome. Really love that.
Perfect. We're going to screw up. Like, I let people see my screw ups.
Yeah.
Bloopers.
Well, and when I first started out, I didn't have this belief, or I didn't own it so much, is that people expect us not to be perfect. If we're perfect, flags go up and they think, oh, this is high production value. They're selling something. People are human beings, and being a human being is just fine. It's okay. You can be human. So thank you again for that. Getting to the last here, and want to ask, I love this last question personally, is what I've found from all these interviews that I've done, all these podcasts, is that most everybody that comes on here, they're not here just to make money. It's not just a job to them. They're, because they struggle, like you mentioned, some of the struggles that you've had, some of the failures that you've had, myself included. I've done that. Well, there's got to be a reason that we get up and we continue to do it, because that's may not always be the healthiest way to approach things. So why do you do what you do? What is your passion? And as I like to say, what gets you up in the morning out of bed to go do what you do? Because it's got to be more than just money to me. So what is your passion? What could you share about that?
Yeah, I'm a motivator. So if I'm not motivating other people to love themselves and be healthy from the inside out, then I'm not motivated myself. So it's the motivator in me, the inner natural coach. I'm a natural coach. I was just looking at this weekend, and I started in the fitness industry at a really young age, teaching skiing and then teaching swimming. And then that evolved into fitness therapy and blah, 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 all the way to Supercore Fit. And I like to help people feel better about themselves. And there's this deep, deep desire to just keep going no matter what. You've got to find that in business, or else, whether it's a job or you're an entrepreneur, big business, small business, I work and coach with corporate leaders who just lose it. Their fire burns out and we've got to find that fire
Right.
somehow. So it's the motivator in me that gets me up in the morning. I'm like, okay, who can I motivate today to feel better?
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you again very much. Really appreciate you taking the time to do that. It's time for us to wrap up here, and wanted to see if there's anything that you wanted to leave the listeners and viewers that might help them or let them find you if they're looking.
Absolutely. You can find me at supercorefit.com. And I think the easiest thing to do to understand what I do is purchase our book, Core Intelligence, Driving the New Form of Leadership. If there's anything I've left off, it's that my passion is teaching people to look inside of themselves to be an empowered leader. And we're all leaders. We all lead and inspire in amazing ways. So that's what SuperCore is all about. So our book is available on Amazon, Core Intelligence.
Super. And I'll make sure that that's in the show notes in the description for wherever we happen to post the audio or video.
Great.
Pam, thanks again. Really appreciate your time. Thanks everybody for listening in. Have a safe and productive week and be the very, very best at whatever it is that you're doing. Until next time, this is Tad Stevens with Micro Success Secrets. Bye for now.
Bye.